Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 527, our top 5 deck, bag, and pool building games.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. They have amazing product that will improve every game night and make you awesome. So go check them out, GameToppersLLC.com.
So if you've ever wanted to be awesome, you know how to fix it.
Yes.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I am Andy Holliday.
I am Douglas Stewart.
And I'm Nathan Howard.
We would love for you to check out our website, MeepleNation.com. We have links to all of our episodes on our website. We have blogs, photos of our gaming experiences. We have our bios, and we have some fun blogs for you to read. We also have a link to our Patreon page. We thank our patrons. We thank you for the support that you've given us, and we love you. If you too would like to help us improve the podcast and become a patron, click the link, jump over to our Patreon page, and become a full-fledged member of Meeple Nation. Also, we would love to hear from you. If you have any comments or questions or anything at all that you'd like, just please reach out to us at meeplenation@gmail.com. Feature questions that you guys have brought up to us, and in general, we just love to hear from you.
Well, that takes us into one of my favorite segments of every episode, and that is where we get to talk about what we have been playing recently. There's some good ones on the list and some not so good ones on the list.
Oh,
and
you're talking about mine, aren't you?
Yes, he is.
So let's get right into it. Nathan, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a really awesome game.
Oh, okay. What's it called?
It is called Medici. This is a reprint of...
Oh, did they change the rules with the reprint?
No.
Oh, you said it was awesome, so.
It is awesome. I don't know what your problem is with this game. It is a great Rainer Knizia game from 1995 that got an updated art. I got a chance to play it with some people who appreciated it, and I got a chance to play it with some of you guys. But this is a great 2 to 6 player game, plays in about 60 minutes. You're shipping off resources, you're trying to capitalize on what resources are available, but this game does lead to a lot of experience. It helps you play the game a lot better.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
This is one where Nathan taught it, and then he demolished us. It was not close at all.
And
now, some of that was the people at the table who it wasn't just me who didn't know or wasn't really great. It was also you had a couple players who were basically in your back pocket. They were feeding you exactly what you needed.
And the funny thing is whenever I try to teach a game, the last thing I want to do is try to demolish people. Nobody really enjoys getting their butt handed to them. And so I tried to be very passive on my acquisition of resources that were coming up, but it just kept working out that everything was coming up, Nathan. I would allow everybody to try to get stuff. I would say, okay, hey, if you flip over 3 cards, you can take them for 1 money. And then those cards would work terribly for them. Yeah, they got up for 1 money, but it just didn't work out for them. But this game is so good. Multiple plays of this game, I think you would turn around and enjoy this game. And get that look off your face, Andy. It is a great game.
That's how my face always looks, Nathan.
I know. It's the resting Andy face.
Well, maybe I need to give it another shot. I just don't know. You had Amara and Young Logan who were feeding you cards left and right. I kept thinking well, those are really good for them. They're going to outbid Nathan. And then they'd be like, okay, you can take them for a song.
Yeah.
And you kept just getting all the very best cards for nothing.
Yeah, but have you heard Nathan sing? I get
wants
it.
to.
I get it.
It was frustrating, and then it put me in the position where I could either try to win or I could try to tank Nathan's game, and again, like I just hate being in that. Also, after everyone else's boats are full, you can just flip cards over until your boat is full if you're the last person.
If you're the last
and
person.
that was Nathan on a couple of the turns, and like when he says everything was coming up Nathan, like seriously everything was coming up Nathan. Like he would blind draw those cards to fill his boat, and they were like highest scoring combos.
Yeah, I took the
game.
largest boat several times without trying to teach the best I could, but when the deck just
Loves you?
loves me,
Yep.
decks love me, and it worked out. It worked out well for me. Something that I can't take credit for. I mean, a lot of that is just. I guess I can take credit for. A lot of that is just experience. I've played this game.
So what I heard
Dozens of
is
times.
from Nathan is I was trying to lose and I still kicked your butts. So you guys really suck at this game.
That's not what I was saying, but yeah, it's kind of true.
When you put it like that, I think I'm done. I'm out.
But no, I think you guys, if you really gave this game a shot, I love this game. This game is so well done. Something with experience. I mean, you can get Dave to it. Dave's had a ton of experience with this. Dennis, some of the original Thursday Night Group guys. When it came out in 1995, it was one that we picked up when we had everybody there for game night. It was something that we could get to the table again and again and again. It worked out well. But yeah, Medici, I think, is a really good game. It did have a very much of a need for an upgraded art. And this art looks really good. Board plays out great. It's still a phenomenal game, no matter what you guys say.
Way to stick to your guns. I like that. Andy, what have you been playing this week?
I came to Nathan's game night a little bit late, so we had to decide what we were going to play. I'm trying to think, what were you guys playing? You were playing something 6 players that Doug didn't like.
Was that the night we played Last Light?
That's what it was, Last Light.
Oh yeah, we did play last night. It was first play, and we played at. Did we play with 6 players, or did we play with 8?
Yeah, we played with
It was 5
Was
players.
it only 5?
No, it was 6.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was 6. You guys
it was 6.
yeah.
It was a rough night.
So I'm glad that I got there late because I didn't get roped into that.
You dodged the
It
bullet.
also is a really good game that I think you will enjoy.
I might. I don't know. I've looked at it so many times because I was thinking about getting it, but yeah, I could never pull the trigger on it.
So that is one that I am going to give another shot to.
Is it?
Because I do feel like the problem was the excessive player count. And I have heard a lot of people talk really highly about Last Light, and I can see why, but I do think it was a mistake to allow it to go up to 8 players. Yeah. I think that expansion was a mistake. I think it should be capped at 4.
Interesting.
After one play, so take it with a grain of salt. That's my opinion after one play. So I need to try it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got the opportunity to play Above and Below with my daughters. And
Oh yeah, you were talking about your highlight.
yeah, I was.
Oh yeah.
Sierra hadn't played it before, and it was one that I had been wanting to introduce to her for some time. And it was just a great chance to bust Above and Below out. And Amara loves it anyway. Narrative driven. She loves those types of
that's
games.
great for her.
And I think I pulled a Nathan and destroyed them.
Way to
but
go. Make them cry.
My girls actually appreciate the fact that I don't go easy on them. So, because I don't.
Yeah.
When they win, they know that they deserved it and they can be proud of themselves for winning the game.
Yeah, I haven't played that one for quite a while. I do enjoy that one. I think my complaint was one of the more common complaints with that game, which was just that some of the narrative, like the reward you get, doesn't necessarily match with what the narrative sets up.
Yep. Sometimes it's bad when
which is-
you roll, when you actually get high exploration and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that turned out bad for me. Really?
Yeah, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But the game is great. I mean, it really is. Like it's a great Ryan Lockett game, part of that whole like series of games that he did. The Above and Below and Now and Never and Near and Far.
Near and far.
And I think all those are really solid.
I just looked up the player count for Last Light.
Mhm.
The expansion for Last Light Infinity increases the maximum of 4 players up to 8, and the BGG community agrees with you, Doug, that even that it can go up to 8, it is best at 4.
Yeah.
And I think it totally needs to stick to that as well. So you are not alone on your first
Sweet.
attempt.
Say it one more time.
I have been validated.
You are right.
Sweet.
I'm just going to go ahead and text this to your wife right now.
Will you please?
Oh, wait. She says, I am a liar.
I didn't see you text that out.
That was fast.
That was really fast.
She was on that like, boom. No, that is incorrect.
Yeah, she probably would be, actually. That's funny. No, I feel totally validated by the BGG community, so thanks, everyone. That's awesome. I was a little bit hard on Medici, whatever. I don't care.
It's not whatever. It's Medici. It's a great game.
Okay, well, whatever.
Medici.
And then I was a little bit grumble about Last Light, even though it wasn't even really the highlight game we were talking about. But I'm really excited about my highlight because it got to play Forest Shuffle. And it was awesome. I really like this. This is actually a very good game. It's got some depth that I think you don't think it's going to have at first glance.
Right.
But as you play the game out, what the cards allow you to do, bonuses that can be triggered, the abilities on those cards, how you place them, build combos, build really scoring combos is what you're trying to do. But as you try to set that up and execute those cards, there's some fun things to think about, some really interesting decisions. It's really interesting to see how you manipulate the clearing, trying to build combos out of the trees you place, and then the critters that can go either to the right or to the left or up and down. Each card, it's either divided down the middle or divided across, so you have a top and a bottom, and you can build up thematic forest landscapes. Birds and butterflies and stuff will go at the top, and the woodland creatures will go from side to side, and mushrooms and lizards, all that kind of stuff. So it thematically kind of makes sense, but you're setting up these really cool scoring combos. I thoroughly enjoyed Forest Shuffle. It was great. In fact, we got done playing that, and I think I asked you to put it on our next order for Meeple Nation. It's really good.
Kind of out of stock everywhere currently.
It is. Yeah, they're waiting for another printing. It is totally sold out. Now, just as a really fun kind of quick side note, the day we're recording this episode is April 1st. So it's April Fool's.
What a joke.
And Lookout Games let me make sure it's Lookout. Yeah. And Lookout Games on their, I saw it on Facebook, but for April Fool's, they posted a spoof on Forest Shuffle. And they said, it said, "We know we'll be a little late for the Year of the Dragon, but nevertheless, ... And then it has this exclusive sneak peek. It says coming in 2025, Dragon Shuffle. But it has really cool artwork and looks like it could be a legitimate product. And it made me kind of chuckle a little bit. And then it made me really sad that
it's not real,
actually happening.
Yeah, kind of pulling on the coattails of Wormspan. But yeah, it looks it looks good for a fictitious game.
For a fictitious game, it sure looks great. Yep. But Forest Shuffle, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to play it some more. There's a lot there that I still want to explore, and an expansion that I'd like to give a shot to as well. So more probably on Forest Shuffle in the future. And unless you guys want to talk about more highlights, that is going to take us into the topic of the day, which is our top 5.
Top 5?
Top 5.
Is it our top 5?
Bag and pool building games.
Top 5.
All right. Well, who's going to start us off?
I think you should, Nathan. I love hearing your voice.
Yeah, go for it, Nathan.
So I talked a little bit about this game, not directly, but indirectly, as its awesome insert. And this is Heat Pedal to the Metal. Heat Pedal to the Metal is an amazing card deck building game. Yes, you are using your same deck. However, if you play poorly, then that deck is going to be full of stress and heat. And you have to manage and manipulate your engine and your discards in order to progress your speed on your race and be able to manage that heat. It's kind of funny, I'm playing a game of this online with my wife currently, and in our current game, I have spun out 6 times.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Really?
What happened?
And I have never spun out in a game before.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I've spun out 6 times because I keep just getting further and further back, and my hand just keeps getting full of stress. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to risk 2 stress cards. And get 2 4s, push me over that corner, and rewind, add more stress to my deck. And now I got 3 stress cards in my hand. Try it again. Made 1 corner, get to the next corner, stress me out again, and I'm reset again. But it's been kind of funny because I've never spun out in a game before, and it's whenever somebody spins out, it's like, oh, we got to go to the rules, make sure we get all this right, because I'm not familiar with it. But yeah, this last game, 6 times. I've
No
spun
longer
out.
a problem not being familiar with it.
Yeah,
huh?
I am well aware of how the spin out works and heat pedal to the metal. But I love this game. This is all about the discarding at the appropriate time and managing what cards are in your hand.
You actually want to take heat,
Yeah,
but,
at certain
but just
times
not too much.
Yeah,
And so
you
it's
got to maintain that level. This last game, I took a turn to make sure I could beat it and be ahead, and it was great until the next turn. I overdid it by 1 because I thought I had the heat and didn't have the heat, and then it was just a downward spiral after there.
It's panic mode to try to catch up, and you just do it over and over and over
you
again.
get further and further and further behind,
Yeah.
and it's just become a strict loss. A strict loss? That doesn't make any sense. It's a lost.
It's better than a lenient loss, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It could be. Yeah, that loss was very strict. There was no arguing with it. It was you lost. But anyways, Heat
I get
Pedal
that.
to the Metal is a great game. Very much enjoy it. And I'm
Yeah,
very
it
excited
really is.
for the Heavy Rains expansion.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, my number 5 is a bag builder, Altiplano. I feel like this is a true bag builder. It's the game I compare all other bag builders to. You're going around to different tiles and performing an action, going to be gaining resources that go into your bag. End of your turn, you pull out resources, they get added to your board, and that's going to fuel the actions that you have on your board. So everybody has an action board that's the same at the beginning of the game. One thing I love about this game is that you get to buy extensions to your action board that will give you asymmetrical abilities or actions that you can take to spend your resources on. That allows you to be able to focus on specific resources that are going to fuel the actions that are static versus also the ones that you're going to upgrade to. Best way to score points is going to be either boat cards, storing resources in your warehouse is one of the biggest ways to score points. If you can get those lower point shelves filled up and get the higher point ones, which you have to fill last, if you can get all those filled, you can score mega points. This is a great game. It's one that we definitely don't play enough. I think we've only played this once with you, Doug. Is that correct?
Played it a couple times, once with you guys and once, I think, just with family at home. I have like the Geek Up bins for this and the nice bags, and I've 3D printed some stuff for it. I love Altiplano. I just want to play it some more.
We need
to play it more.
I need to get some upgraded components because that is my only beef with this game. Is the components that come with the game are horrible. It's like they took wet cardboard that was been out in the rain and made components out of it. It's terrible.
Those are the components that I replaced. So they have the little carts.
Yes.
So I 3D printed those and the wheelbarrows and just barrels.
Even the
Right.
resource chips are not great. It's
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
cheap garbage cardboard. But
I don't have the access to the 3D printer, and I mean, I guess I could ask either of you guys to print something for me.
Yeah, anytime.
I ultimately culled that game because of
the quality of the components.
the components were so inferior.
Well, mine is fully tricked out, and I really want to play it more and more.
I would love to play it again, but then I'd have to buy it again.
you don't have to. We have
don't
two
have to.
copies.
You're okay.
We have
Pretty
two
sure
copies.
I do.
No,
If I like it, I'm pretty
word.
sure I have to.
You
just
have
as
issues.
make it as an excuse to go to game night over at my house or Doug's.
Yep, it's true.
Never really need an excuse, although sometimes it feels like it.
I say you might. Anyway, that's my number 5, Altiplano.
Great choice. Really good. That one was close to mine. I think it would have made mine if I had played it more. My number 5 is going to be my favorite bag builder, and that is Wonderland's War.
And this is one that I wanted to talk about last week because this is one that's on your list that I really want to try.
Yeah, and we need to play this more. I want to get this. You've played it, right, Andy?
I've played it a couple of times with you, and it's great.
Yeah,
It's a
and you
fun game.
haven't played it at all.
I have not. No.
Okay, we definitely need to get this to the table then. It's fantastic. The whole game, beginning to end, it's really, really good. The whole process of building your bag, though, takes place during the tea party. So there's 3 rounds of the game, and at the beginning of each round, you have this whole tea party phase, and that's where you get to really build and customize your bag. The chips are really fun. The theme is really fun. The way the chips play off of each other and what they do during the battles is, I think, really fun and interesting. Gives you a lot of avenues and strategy to kind of explore there. But one of the things that I love the most about this is the way that you seed your bag has such a huge impact on battles and how the game progresses and plays out. You don't have to just fill your bag full of high value chips that get you a lot of strength. You can build a bag that lets you forge which lets you build out and upgrade your board in front of you. You can build a bag that helps you complete quests, which is a huge potential scoring opportunity at the end. You can really kind of customize what you want to put in there and how you want to do that. Or you can just build a bag that hits like a freight train. You're pulling lots of high value chips out and climbing up that battle strength track and demolishing your opponents. But even then, you've got to find balance between the different territories that you want to take over and how you want to go about strategically trying to win the game and getting your castles out and what you want to upgrade and how you want to earn points and use your asymmetric powers and all that kind of stuff. I really love this game quite a bit. So Wonderland's War, my number 5.
Yeah, this is one that I've wanted to play for some time. Shelf presence looks nice. Cheshire Cat on there.
It's fantastic.
All right, my number 4 was one that you alluded to last week, Doug, when you lumped those 3 games that always seem to be lumped together. You talked about Endless Winter, Dune Imperium, and Lost Ruins of Arnak. And of those 3, Dune Imperium made my number 4. I think Dune Imperium is a superior game. It does the whole resource management, worker placement blend very well. Takes on the media from the book and translates it into a game fairly well. You're representing one of the houses, and you're trying to maintain the influence between the different bodies of influence: the Fremen, the Bene Gesserit, and the Spice Guild, and
the Emperor,
and just trying to manage all of those together, get the benefits, and to essentially take control of the spice, take control of Arrakis. There's always the battle that you're trying to dominate at the end of each round and be victorious there, or you're trying to allow somebody else to be victorious there so that you can build up your forces and take control on the next round. So many mechanics in this work very well. Very much am excited about this game, and not just because it has a card that breaks ties, but because there's just so much going on in this game that makes it amazing.
I knew that had to get thrown in at some point.
Yeah.
We're going to throw that in for sure.
Yeah.
But you are 100% right. And those cards, like this isn't like a heavy deck building game.
No.
But the cards are all multi-use, and they have really fun ways that you can find to make them synergize with each other. Spot on. It's really good. Now, I think Andy would probably make the argument that Dune Imperium Uprising is the better version. I think he loves that one so much more.
Did you spring a leak over there, Andy?
I don't know if that's true.
Uprising is one that I'm anxious to try. I haven't tried that.
Oh yeah. I'll teach it to you sometime. See if you like it as much as Andy did not like it.
I need to try it again. I liked the spies. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, the spies are awesome.
I just think I'm just chalking that up to really bad luck because everything was not working out in my favor.
There's no D6 in this.
It might as well have been. The cards had an identity crisis or something.
Here's what's really interesting. I felt a little bit stymied, like a little bit, in Dune Imperium. Like, I still love it. I think it's great. But it was kind of hard for me in the early rounds to develop too much of a strategy. And then it seemed like it just kind of blew up in the last half of the game. It seemed like everyone was kind of able to do pretty much whatever they wanted. Uprising felt a lot more tight the entire time. And I personally like that, but I think it made you feel like you couldn't really get anything going.
Yeah, I felt the opposite. I felt like I could get way more done in the base game, just Dune Imperium rather than Uprising. I felt totally hamstrung.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, we definitely need to play that a few more times to, I think, develop a final opinion on it. But Dune Imperium is a great number 4 choice. I like it.
I do too.
Thank you.
All right, my number 4 is also a bag builder, and that is the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
The best bag builder, I think.
It is so good. I love how accessible this game is. This is one that my aunts, who by no stretch of the imagination are they board gamers, but yet they will play this game over and over and over and just laugh and giggle and have a good time playing this. This is one it's hilarious playing with my son Carson because he cheats like crazy.
I would love to play this with Carson.
And you catch him and he's just, stop cheating, and he puts his head down, and like when he gets disappointed, you see it throughout his whole body. His head goes, his shoulders just slump down, and he just it's like, oh, I got caught.
I wish I felt the same way when we're playing Greedy Granny. I try everything to cheat in that game to get that game to end.
And he won't let you. The one time he won't
will
let you
not.
cheat. I love how accessible it is. The expansions are just great. Herb Witches is one of those where you just don't ever play without Herb Witches. Even if you're playing with new players, it does not overcomplicate the game.
Yeah, it's great that
No,
way.
I think you're spot on.
And I honestly, it's just complementary to it. It really enhances the experience and is one of those that's simple. Now, Alchemist, on the other hand, is definitely makes it more complicated, but I think that makes it more of a gamer's game when you add the Alchemist
I think you're
expansion
spot
in there.
on with that too.
And I really love adding that expansion. It turned that game from a pretty fun game into a really fun game for me. There is a lot of luck involved, and there's not a lot of mitigation. So there is that. I know that my cousin Richie doesn't care for it very much because of that luck aspect, but there's enough strategy involved in what you put into your bag, and most of the time it still works out. Yeah, that's my number 4, The Quacks of Quedlinburg.
It's a great number 4.
It really is. Good games on this list so far.
What you got, Doug?
My number 4 is also a fantastic game. In fact, it's so fantastic that we're going to talk about it later on somebody else's list,
Sounds awesome.
which will bring us to Nathan's number 3.
Hey,
and
talk
just
about-
like that,
Just like that, there it is. My number 3 is an amazing deck builder game, and that is After Us. 80 years in the future, not even 80 years. I can't remember what it is.
I think it says 80.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
In the near future, all humanity has died and apes have taken over the world, and they are doing their best to interpret the what humanity left behind. And so they are trying to
Gain intelligence.
gain intelligence and build up what they can use. You're going to start with a deck of 8 cards, and you're going to lay them out, and you get to manipulate this hand or this flop or whatever you want to call it. You're going to drop the cards in front of you, and you're going to manipulate them so that the cards have frames on them, and you want to complete those frames in order to gain you resources. You only gain the resources or be able to take the action if the frame is complete. So you have over 3 phases you're going to go through. You're going to lay out those cards. You're going to collect those resources. Then you're going to use those resources to try to encourage other apes to join your tribe. Trying to get orangutans, some baboons, some gorillas, and
Chimpanzees.
some chimpanzees to get to the table to make your deck better. And each of them is going to increase the occurrence of a resource, whether that is intelligence, being able to learn something quickly and use it again and again, or have rage and scare away some of your lesser howler monkeys or apes that are no longer benefiting your tribe. The game goes till one player scores 80 points. Game over. You don't complete your turns. You don't complete you'll complete your turn, but you don't complete the phases. You don't go through all 3 phases. And just if somebody's in phase 1, they complete it, they get to 80 points, the game's over, and you just go, and it's done. I like this game. I think this is one that I taught. Everybody liked it. Everybody picked it up. We hit the table with quite a bit. There's a superb BGA implementation of this that I'm playing games with you, Doug. I'm playing games with my wife constantly with this game. After Us is phenomenal in my book.
Yeah, it really is. I agree with everything you said. I will just add that, this is our top, deck, bag, and pool building games list, and this does deck building, I
Yes.
think, really well. I love how this game does deck building. I like that you're restricted by the token that you have to put down, so you have to synergize with your resources, match the token, and make a good strategy. So it's not just like, oh, here's a flop of cards, I'll just snap up whatever I can afford. There's some deliberate decision making that goes into that process. I also really like that there's sort of a weak and a strong version of each of those different monkey cards, right? And they're all face down. So even though you have a quote unquote market that you're buying from, depending on what type you want and whether you want the strong or the weak version, you're still drawing it face down, which really alleviates a lot of the analysis paralysis at the table.
Agreed.
Right? When you have a face up deck of cards, and we've all sat through those games of Clink or Ascension or whatever, where somebody at the table has to sit there and read every card in the market before they make a decision on what they're going to buy. This eliminates all of that. You already know what you're going to buy and how many resources you're going to pay for it. You take the top card and you get to add it to your draw pile rather than your discard pile. So it's immediately going to come into effect and make your deck feel better.
Yeah, I do like deck builders that have that mechanic where it adds it directly to the top of your pile. I will say this about After Us. For me anyway, replayability is not super high. It almost feels like it needs an expansion or something. It needs more for me.
Blasphemy.
I think the other part, we were talking about this on Friday, our last game night. Richie is kind of not an anti After Us, but he kind of is. His wife loves it, so he kind of has to play it. He doesn't really care for it. I like the game. Don't get me wrong. I do. But I do feel like it kind of forces you down a specific road. Like if I get gorillas, then I'm going to be getting more seeds that get me more gorillas. I wish they had it to where if I wanted to get gorillas, then I need to get more orangutans or something like that. Or have it so that there's a little bit more of an ability to diversify. Because I think you get... At one point, gorillas are not going to be that useful to you.
Right.
That's what's going to be used to cull your cards that you don't want, your starting cards, right? That game goes by so quickly. Getting rid of all of your starting cards is not an easy feat. I've seen it done, but it's not easy.
Not always a winning feat either.
It's right. You're right. It's not. I've played it quite a bit. Maybe it's just because I'm just not good at the game. I think I've gotten destroyed every time I've played it.
Well, good. You need some of those.
With the exception of when I taught it to my wife. I did beat her on that one.
Heaven forbid Andy plays a game that he doesn't win all the time.
But I don't think that's necessarily it. I lose games often enough that doesn't bother me. In fact, I'll play a game. Oh, did I win that? Oh, cool. I guess I did. So a lot of it's about the journey, and the journey's
for sure
fun, but it seems to get, after I've played it 6 or 7 times, it almost seems monotonous.
Hearing you say that does make me wonder. My understanding and my experience, the cards should be pretty balanced with the base resources that they provide.
They are, with the exception of seeds, I think.
That's why I'd have to go take a look and see, because you might be right. I've just never noticed that, because the base resources should be balanced between all the different species. It's one provides more intelligence, so that definitely leans toward that. One provides more batteries, which is like a kind of an additional resource.
Yep.
The orangutans. The gorillas are supposed to produce a lot more rage, which for culling cards, and then the chimpanzees let you do certain frames.
Yeah.
And so they each have a specialty, but I think the base resources on them are supposed to be balanced so that you don't run into that like problem where, well, if I'm buying orangutans, I'm going to be left with an abundance of the orange fruit resource or whatever.
Well, I think, at least from what I found, is with the other 3, I don't think it's quite as big of an issue. Gone the culling card route, and I find that I've just got tons of seeds. It's like, okay, I don't need any more gorillas, so I'm just going to spend these resources and buy a chimpanzee, because you can spend anything for a chimpanzee. But then I find myself, okay, I've just got a bunch of apes and chimpanzees. I also find that the cards that I get, because it's blind, I don't like the blind draw. I know that it does drastically reduce the analysis paralysis, but I find I'm like, dang, this is really a crappy card that doesn't work with really any of my other cards. So that adds to a little bit of frustration that it's a blind draw. It would be nice to have some options, but once again, for a quick game, having that blind draw really does make it nice. I guess I'm less frustrated with a crappy card than I am waiting 20 minutes before it's my turn.
Yeah, for sure. In my opinion anyways, I think the chimpanzees are there to kind of help equalize.
I think you're right.
Balance.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because you can go with the heavy ape gorilla focus at the beginning of the game, but exactly like you say, once you've culled out all your starting cards, having all that rage becomes moot. Whereas you incorporate some of those chimpanzees, which will allow you to reuse and go after some of those other.
And I think if the game was a little longer, it seems like by the time you get to where you have, if you're going for that strategy in particular, the game ends and you're like, okay, well, I was kind of going for this engine and it just ended before I really even got it built, much less got it to really work.
I kind of feel like it's in that nice little sweet spot that it doesn't overstay its welcome. And
maybe so. It would be interesting if adding even another 20 points. I don't know if that would matter because the game accelerates so much by the end, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a fun game. I'm not trying to diss on both of your top 5 games. I like it. I just have a few hiccups with it.
No, that's good. Like you were saying, Nathan, at the beginning, you kind of were alluding to like an expansion or something like that. Or one of you was, I can't remember.
Andy
but
was, yeah.
I would actually love to see more content for After Us.
For sure.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Super fun game. Love it. And yeah, I'll have to pay attention to that. I have definitely seen someone win. I've played it enough now. I've seen someone win using just about every strategy I can think of. So it's hard for me to pick and poke too much at its balancing issues. But I definitely get where you're coming from on that for sure. What was your number 3, Andy?
My number 3 is Dice Forge.
This is a great game.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Every time this has hit the table, it has struck home. It doesn't matter whether it's teaching new people or non-gamers or whatever. Just the fact that you get to upgrade and build your dice is just really cool. When we first got this game, it was just the base game. The expansion wasn't out yet. I guess I was a little afraid when I saw it was Dice Forge. Oh, you get to forge your dice. I was afraid it was going to be just a novelty, kind of a gee whiz thing. And it so wasn't. It's really cool. There's a lot of strategy involved. The feats that you go out on the islands to perform are unique and different and fun. You're trying to collect resources to be able to go do those feats. And then you add the expansions in. The expansion that's out adds 2 different play modes. You can do the Labyrinth or you can use the Titans. That adds a whole nother aspect to it. The Labyrinth is pretty straightforward. You're just moving and collecting stuff. Whereas with the Titans, you can ally yourself with the Titans, which is going to give you wild resources and Titan shards. Or you can ally yourself with the Olympian gods, which will give you not as many resources per se as far as the wild resources, but you're going to gain more points. Whereas you get negative points at the end of the game if you're out, depending on where you're at on the Titan track. The game is awesome. I love it. Has always been a successful night when we play Dice Forge. That's my number 3.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody who owns a copy of this that doesn't have like a little pair of tweezers or something in the box to help pop those little faces on and off. That dice crafting is really cool.
Yeah, for the longest time, I thought this was the first game that did this dice crafting. I have a different game that does the dice crafting as well, and that's a game called Rattlebones. Came out 3 years prior to Dice Forge.
Oh, really? Huh.
This is by Rio Grande Games, 15 to 30-minute game. But very simple. It's one that I played a long time ago and then just kind of forgot about it because it's not really all that memorable. Dice Forge, on the other hand, superb game.
They did it right.
That takes that mechanic, that dice forging mechanic, and just does it well. So it's a great pool building game there. I approve of your number 3.
Oh, thanks, Nate.
That's what I'm here for.
Well, my number 3 is Undaunted, and you can just pick your flavor. There's Normandy, North Africa, Stalingrad, or Battle of Britain, and soon to be a one set in the future. So I'm super excited about that. I think my favorite currently is Stalingrad, just because of the way the cards upgrade if they're successful. You know, if you win, progress in a favorable manner at the end of a scenario. Also, some of your units can perish and become a lesser version. So there's kind of some interesting upgrade, downgrade stuff going on that makes Stalingrad, I think, really good. But I just love the deck building. I think the game, each scenario forces you into some tight deck building restrictions. The different cards that will be available to you in your own personal market of cards. And then you get to choose how you want to add those into your deck. They just represent the different squads that you've got out on the battlefield. So the more of a certain card that you put into your deck, the more that those units are going to be able to activate and do things as you're playing the game. So you really get to customize how you want to play, what units you want to activate more often. And of course, multi-use cards, which I always think are just so fantastic.
I love it when a game uses multi-use cards.
It's so good. It's just so good. You have to give up one of your cards to set your initiative order. So there's that. And then every time you play a card down, they've got multiple options down at the bottom. So as an example, if you play a scout down, what are you going to do with it? Well, you can use it to go and explore the board, or you can use it to clear the fog of war cards in your hand, or maybe give your opponent fog of war cards, or you can just use it to attack. You play that card and it's like, well, what is the most efficient, best thing for me to do with this card? You know, if I've got a couple of them, like, okay, how can I get these to synergize? How can I get my different cards to work together, complete objectives thing? And then of course, how am I going to build my deck so that I can do more of the things that I need to and less of the things that I don't? So I really love the really tight, fun deck building aspect of Undaunted, growing as one of my favorite game series of all time. Just want to play more and more of it.
Yeah, this is one that I really enjoy. You taught it to me, and I was very anxious to play it again. In fact, I almost picked up a copy of it, and then I thought, no, Doug's going to get mad at me. But
well, maybe not mad, but just, wonder why, Nathan. Why?
No, I think mad. No, you get angry. There's veins bulging. There's fist shaking. But no, with the new expansion, and I'm totally drawn a blank on that one. With
He's an angry elf.
He's an angry elf. The new expansion that is no longer part of the World War II arena, but is in the futuristic, which sings to me more. Anyways,
Oh, yeah, I can't wait.
you introduced this to me when we were on the heels of Memoir 44. I very much love Undaunted.
It's amazing. And that will take us to Nathan's number 2.
Number 2. Well, my number 2 is a game that came out just last year, and I have played a ton of this game.
I knew this was going to make your list.
Yeah, it is. I can just walk by my daughter's door and whisper Star Wars, and she'll drop everything and come play, which I can't do because she's doing homework. So I have to refrain myself. But Star Wars, the deck building game, is great. It's a simple 2-player game where you're playing either the Empire or the Rebellion. I'm very much looking forward to new content. I would love an expansion for this. But this quickly becomes a game of trying to take out your opponent's base. You start off with either Dantooine or Rythal. Lothal, thank you. Once you eliminate that base, then your opponent gets to choose a new base. And it's the first person to either 3, 4, or 5, depending on how long your game wants to be. Then it also includes the option that you can add a second deck and play it as a 4-player game. I haven't tried this. I do own 2 copies now.
We got to give it a shot.
We got to give it a shot, but I've heard there's a big but there that it increases the time a lot.
There's a big but there, and you cannot lie.
I cannot lie. And so I'm not sure if extra time is worth it, but I am willing to give it a shot.
Well, a lot of the magic of some of these deck building games comes because they don't overstay their welcome. They do what they do really well, and then they go away and let you decide to either play it again or put it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worry, because it's great. It's great in its base form to like 1v1. But yeah, if you're going to like quadruple the amount of time that it takes for 4 people to play the game, that would be my worry too. I just don't know that it justifies that kind of time length, but I'd like to try it at least once.
I'm right on there. It's got to be tried once, and then we'll go. It's kind of fun. We got to play this at SaltCon March, the first weekend in March. Brian, our friend Brian, had his copy, and he was going to cull it. You don't want to cull this game. I'll teach you how to play it, and if you're going to cull it, I'll buy it, because I didn't have my second copy at that point. So I taught him how to play it. Jenna was sitting there, and so not only did Brian keep his copy, but Jenna bought a copy. So, so once you get it played, it's a great game. Star Wars, the deck building game. I strongly recommend it. All of us own it, right?
Yes, we all own it. I only own 1 copy. I'm just thinking, if I were a game designer, how could I get someone to buy multiple copies of my game?
Yeah.
That's how it's done.
That's how it's done.
There you go.
You met Nathan, you put a good Star Wars game out there, and he's like,
if you get 2 copies, you can do this. Okay, so
I'm sold. That's why I got 2 copies of Memoir 44.
Fantasy Flight Games says crack the code.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, that leads to my number 2. My number 2, I'm lumping 2 together, and that's Thunderstone and Thunderstone Quest. This was right up here with Dominion. They've been neck and neck for a long time, and Dominion was always kind of a little bit above it, but I think Thunderstone has beat out Dominion, so much so that Dominion didn't even make my top 5. But I love Thunderstone Quest and Thunderstone both. I love the fantasy theme, so that helps. But I really like the fact that you have more going on than just going into the market and buying stuff and cards that synergize. Yes, you still have a market. Yes, you're still getting weapons and you're getting different things for your heroes, but you also need to go and gain those heroes. You have to hire the heroes and add them to your deck. Then you have the dungeon aspect of it. You're going down into the dungeon, you're fighting monsters. You need to have a light source, or otherwise you're going to take penalties, and you're going to count up how much strength or how much fight you have, which will allow you to defeat those monsters. When you defeat a monster, you get experience, which then you can use when you go back to town to level your characters, your heroes up, which they can get substantially more powerful. The way the game works is awesome. I love the fact that they have prepare action. That's one of the biggest irksome things in a deck builder is when you just get a bum hand and it's just, okay, well, that sucked. I get nothing. I have 1 card and I'm going to waste it because right, everything else is garbage. Well, I can do a prepare action, discard what I don't want, keep what I want, and then draw back up to my hand size. That's my turn. But I'm setting myself up for potentially an epic turn on my next go around. Maybe I really want to go to the dungeon. I don't have the strength for it, but there's a hero card that I really want to use in the dungeon. I get to keep that and set myself up for my next turn. And hopefully have the potential to do what I actually want. Or if it's, I just don't have enough money to buy anything, I can't go to the dungeon, this is going to be a garbage turn. I'm going to keep whatever money cards I have, dump everything else, hopefully get more money so I can actually buy something maybe a little more expensive in the market. I love the fact that Thunderstone Quest has added, more of a campaign style. You get to retain some cards. You have different things that you get to. You have potions, you have rations, and different things that you get to use that aren't in the regular Thunderstone game. And you have more options on monsters that you get to fight as well.
You can stay in the dungeon. You
Right.
can advance deeper into the dungeon. Yeah, I like that.
It definitely added to the base game of Thunderstone in a good way, in my opinion. It's one of those that we started playing the campaign and then just stopped because that's how campaign games work for us. So, but both great games.
Yeah, Thunderstone was one of those that came out. Dominion,
Yeah.
Legendary, Marvel deck building game, and Thunderstone. And I was playing these games all the time. We would just go through these 3 games, go through them again, recycle, go through. Played a ton of Thunderstone, Thunderstone Advance,
Yes.
Thunderstone Quest, all those. I do like the light campaign that comes with Thunderstone Quest, but still the game at its core is great.
It is. It's really fun. And I'm with you. We did the same thing, not with Legendary so much, but with Dominion and Thunderstone. Yeah, we played the heck out of both of those games.
All right,
Fantastic.
Doug,
Yeah. No,
what's
that's
your number
That's
2?
really good. My number 2 is a game called Revive.
You say that so mildly.
It's such a
It's
wonderful
called
game.
Revive.
There you go. Yes.
I think at this point it's becoming a Meeple Nation favorite. We just don't get to play it quite as often as I think we'd all like to. This is the one that I might make an argument is slightly less of a deck builder and a little bit more of a pool builder. It's a pool of cards, but you have cards that are in your active area. You have cards that are in your hibernation zone, but you have a lot of ways of manipulating that to pull cards from your hibernation zone into your active area, or after you've used cards, quickly move them to your hibernation zone so that when you take the hibernation action, they come back into your active zone. So you could either kind of think about it as like kind of an interesting twist on deck building or a little bit more of a hand or pool management style game. But either way, however you define it, the game is just fantastic from start to finish. It's always incredibly fun deciding how you want to play your cards, because again, they have some multi-uses, in particular with how you slot them onto your board. You can use them as their top or their bottom. You can trigger combos and resource cascades with them. And then obviously that process of managing them, like I was saying, between the active and hibernation zones, I think is really fun, really strategic. The machine and all of its tracks are really great. You've got asymmetric factions. There's a mini campaign that comes with this game. It just fires on all cylinders. It also has an amazing expansion that adds a whole lot of fun to the game and just even takes it up a notch from there. Introduces a whole new card type, which adds to what you're doing with the deck or pool building, and just makes this game fantastic. Pushes it into the upper echelons of fantastic game design, in my opinion.
Yeah, the expansion was huge, I thought.
Yeah.
Adding in the water creatures.
Yep.
Yeah, they changed the game, not drastically, but they enhanced the game, like you say, and make it even that much more enjoyable.
Yep. Just give it a little shot of adrenaline.
Yes. Revive is a great game.
And that's my number 2.
And like that, we're done with the 2s, and we're hitting the top. So my number 1 great deck building game.
One that surprised me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does. Let's see. How long have I been part of Meeple Nation? I don't know, like 4 years or something like that.
Yeah.
That I've been playing games with you guys. Maybe not on the podcast, but we've been playing games together for a while. We've never played this one. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be your number 1. It just surprised me because, and this is one I really want to play. So we won't bury the lead anymore.
We'll fix that. Yeah, we will fix that, because this game involves not just a deck building game, but it brings in all the flavor and excitement of the sci-fi realm and all the sci-fi genres, and you spend all the time reading the flavor text to going, oh, yep, there are very few games that the flavor text and the whole card get you as involved. For me, this game does it perfectly, and that is Clank in Space. And did I drag out that title long enough for you?
I was wondering how long you were going to bury the lead.
Yeah, but Clank in Space is so good. The Clank series in general is great. The Clank adventure game and also very fun is Clank Catacombs. But Clank in Space has always been my favorite for those key reasons. Just so involved with the cards and saying, okay, yep, this is from this is from this is from Blade Runner, this is from Tron, this is from Star Trek, this is from Star Wars. All of those things you're trying to identify and adapt, and it just does it well. But Clank in Space is phenomenal. Deserves to be my number one. And Doug, we're going to totally fix that and get it to the table for you.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, that leads to my number one. And my number one is Taverns of Tiefenthal. I absolutely love this game. It's probably the game of deck builders. It's the one I play the most, easily. It's one I'm always willing to teach and always willing to get to the table. I taught it at SaltCon unofficially, had a little extra minute. So I taught our friend Dan, Greg, and Greg's wife, Stacia. And
it's his daughter, though.
That's his daughter.
What did I say, his wife?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I taught Dan, our friend Dan, Greg, and his daughter, Stacia. We all own our own taverns, and we are bringing in guests, and we can get barmaids, we can get barbacks, brewers to brew our beer. Not only that, you want to impress and bring in the most elite of the elite clientele, and that's the nobles. That's where the big points come in. So each card is going to have a point value that you'll score at the end of the game. But as you're going on, you're going to be purchasing upgrades, which come in cards partially. So like I said, you can purchase an extra brewer, which is going to allow you to brew more beer. You can purchase an extra table. You're going to draw cards and fill your tavern at the beginning of your turn until all your tables are full. As soon as all your tables are full, you're done drawing cards. So tables can be incredibly valuable because it's going to allow you to get more of those upgraded cards out and allow you to have a more powerful turn. Also, you can get a dishwasher, which is going to allow you to manipulate the pips on your dice and potentially allow you to, you can't go up or down. It only allows you to increase that pip value, but it will allow you to gain maybe a little bit more of a payout for some of the cards that you're playing. If you add a barmaid, then it allows you to have extra dice to spend during your turn. The last thing you can purchase are guests. You're going to purchase upgrades with gold, guests with beer. Your guests they're your money makers. That's what's going to produce income to allow you to purchase upgrades for your bar. I love the upgrading part of this. So when you upgrade parts of your bar so that are not cards, you're going to be flipping parts of your board over to the other side. And that's going to, if you upgrade your tables, you start with 3 tables. Now you have 4 tables. Always, every single turn. You can have a permanent dishwasher, a permanent barmaid. And every time you do an upgrade, you gain a noble card and it gets added to your deck. Noble cards are similar, maybe not quite as bad as like an estate in Dominion, where it's really not very valuable. So all your nobles sit together at one table, but you're only ever going to get paid 2 coins. You can only place a 2. So as you're filling up your board, you're going to be drafting dice. Those dice go on the guest cards on your board and on other different locations on your board. You're going to gain money based on whatever that pip value is. So if I place the 2, which is the only thing I can place on a noble card, I'm going to get 2 coins. There may be a guest that has a 6 on it. If I place a 6 on there, I'm going to get 6 coins, which is obviously way more valuable than a 2. However, those nobles are worth 10 points at the end of the game, whereas everything else is going to be worth 1 or 2 points. Whoever has the most noble cards typically is who wins at the end. But the game plays over, I think it's 8 rounds. It's such a wonderful game. And it's similar to what we talked about earlier, Doug. When you purchase a card, anything you purchase during the round goes on top of your draw pile. So you can set yourself up for the next round based on whatever it is you buy. I love also the fact that they have a ton of different modules. There's a lot of content as far as even in the base game. You can add or subtract different things from the game to increase or decrease the complexity. And so if I'm introducing someone who's either brand new to it or isn't really much of a gamer, I can start with just that base game. Or if I'm introducing people who are gamers, I can even throw in the expansion. Play all the modules and even throw an expansion in and make it a little more complicated and a little more meaty. Either way, it plays great and it's a lot of fun. So that's my number one. I love Taverns of Tiefenthal.
Taverns of Tiefenthal, yeah,
Yep,
your game.
you nailed it first try.
Yes. It was one of the first games that I ever put on my 10 for 10 of a game that I didn't own. Getting that goal accomplished all depended on you playing that. So I was super glad that you were so anxious to play it. But this is a great game, even if I can't say it.
This is also a game I don't know if I've ever seen Andy lose.
I've lost.
I think you're right there, too.
If you've lost, I have yet to see it.
Yeah, I've lost many times.
I don't believe it.
I'm not sure if I'm buying that. It is a good game. I definitely like it. I think if I did just slightly better at it, like, I don't know, I might like it just a little bit more. I always feel like I just get crushed. I mean, I have a fun time playing it. It's probably actually a lot like maybe you with After Us or whatever. Although I don't think you ever get like crushed at After Us, but I get crushed at Taverns of Tiefenthal all the time.
It's because you play with Andy.
Yeah, because I play with Andy and Dave. They're both quite exceptional at it. I there's something about it that clicks for you guys. It doesn't quite click for me, but it's great. And I love the deck building. I mean, like when you have a really great turn in Taverns of Tiefenthal, it feels so good.
It does.
It's really good. And when you can kind of set yourself up for that, it feels even better because it's like, well, not only did I have a great turn, but it was deliberate.
Well, and here's the other thing that I like about it is you have the counter guests, right? You get 3 of them throughout the game, and you can use it to get a mulligan. So if I have just a terrible round, like my tables fill up with my starting guests and they're just crap, discard that counter guest, boom, mulligan. Everything goes away, and I restart my guest arrive phase, potentially have a phenomenal round. So the fact that I can mitigate the unlucky draws, or especially at later in the game where it's that last round, you know, you have a ton of good stuff in your deck and you pull out just 3 garbage guests and you're like, oh, yep, well, that was anticlimactic. You're right. The fact that you can mitigate that I think is really nice. And in a deck builder specifically like this, I think it works great.
It kind of goes back to like your Thunderstones where you talk about the preparing.
Yep. Yeah, because that's the downside to a deck builder, right? Is you can just have bum turns.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
All right, Doug, what do you
got? Okay. Well, my number 1 is Etherfields.
I love the art on this game.
Couldn't see that one coming.
No, you don't talk about this game at all, ever.
This remains one of my best overall gaming experiences that I have ever had. And this game does fall, the deck building, right, in this game does fall into that category of like a little bit more slow burn. Now, what I like about it is some missions more than others, but I think in all the missions, there's opportunities to adjust or build or modify your deck in certain ways. And then at the end of each mission, you have an opportunity to spend ether to go through and you draw cards from sort of a big pool, and then you get to make decisions about which ones you want to keep and pay for, that kind of thing. And so I really, really love the deck building system in this. It's not that fast, like drawing from a market style, but it also isn't just I can only upgrade at the end of a mission kind of style. It's a little bit of a hybrid that just works really good. You know, ultimately what this is the deck that you build, it just represents that character that you've built and how you've progressed and the growth that you've experienced throughout your journey through that dreamscape. And it feels like kind of an organic process, and you feel as the missions go on your character getting better and better at certain things, specializing in certain things. I think it does it the very best. This sort of deck that represents my growing character, if I can put all of that in air quotes, I think it does that the very best of any of these types of games that I've played, with the possible exception of Arkham Horror, the LCG. But again, all of your decisions on what you do with your deck are done between missions, like at the start of the game or between missions. This one kind of has the edge there because there's manipulation and growth during the mission as well. Also, multi-use cards. Cannot overstate how much I love multi-use cards. You can use them to pass tests. You can prepare them for their printed abilities. I like that you have the option to hold them from round to round. And I really like that there's lots of synergies that you can develop between the different cards in your deck, get them to work together. Like your prepared cards will trigger off of a lot of the cards in your hand. Of course, like you mentioned, Nathan, it doesn't hurt that the artwork on this is just phenomenal from top to bottom.
Yeah,
this
is one that I think Andy and I need to retry again.
It is, for sure. And Wickham Realms always does amazing with their artwork and their miniatures, and they definitely nailed it with Etherfields, but we need to play this again, especially since the new rulebook is out, and the fact that you've played it all the way through. That would be also helpful.
Yeah, I can help take care of some of those pesky rules.
Yes, sir. Good pick.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great list of top 5s. So tell us what you liked, what games you were not surprised that Doug put at his number 1, and tell us what games are on your top 5.
Until next time.
We'll see you counting on down to your number 1 at the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation, or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.